Emily's brothers gave chase, running all the way to Cherokee Park, but Dr. Ramsey was too quick, disappearing into the woods. The police were once again called, but without a clear lead, they had nothing to act on, just a description of a man who had given a false name. Emily, a quiet and shy girl, was walking to the corner store. She had $5 in her pocket, money she'd saved up for a jar of ragu to bring home to her mother. As she made her way back home, she noticed a man walking behind her. He was unfamiliar. Tall, with salt and pepper hair, dressed in a lab coat, and wearing glasses. He smiled at her and greeted her, breaking the silence. "Hi, my name is Dr. Ramsey. I'm a pediatrician. Do you know what a pediatrician is?" Emily didn't respond, hoping he would just walk on by, but he didn't. Instead, he continued speaking, his voice friendly and cheerful, asking if her parents were looking for a pediatrician and offering her a sucker. His conversation was disjointed, and it quickly became clear to Emily that he wasn't planning on going away anytime soon. With each step, Emily grew more uncomfortable. The man kept chatting, telling her she would soon need a different kind of doctor because she was growing up. Finally, as they neared her home, Emily ran up the back steps, her heart racing. She didn't know it yet, but this was the beginning of something far darker than she could ever imagine. Regularly. He drove by Emily's house nearly every day, waving and smiling as if they were old friends. Emily's mother told her it was probably just on his way home from work, but something didn't sit right with Emily. Soon, the phone calls started. One evening, Emily's father, Tom, called her into the living room. He sat her down with a stern look and asked about the day she met Dr. Ramsey. He wanted to know if she had spoken to him. Emily was confused, unsure why her father was asking. She told him no, but Tom wasn't convinced. "Are you sure?" he asked, his eyes narrowing. "Then how does he know your name?" Tom's concern was palpable. He began to question Emily more thoroughly, and soon he learned that Dr. Ramsey not only knew her name, but also the name of Emily's younger sister, Sarah. And he knew much more. In fact, the phone calls began to reveal terrifying details. Dr. Ramsey was no longer just offering lollipops. He was threatening to hurt Emily and her sister. Tom called the police, but in the mid-1970s, there weren't laws specifically addressing stalking. The officers advised him to call back if Dr. Ramsey tried anything. This didn't sit well with Tom. Fearing for his children's safety, Tom called in a favor from an old friend, a former cop named Steve, who agreed to escort Emily to and from school each day. For the first time in her life, Emily's daily routine came to a halt. She was no longer allowed to walk to school alone. She couldn't play outside. Every aspect of her life was now governed by fear. The man who had first appeared friendly had become an omnipresent terror in her world. But things were about to get much worse. One afternoon, while Emily and her family were in the kitchen, her younger brother Jake noticed someone moving in the garage. He called out, and Emily's brothers rushed to check. When they opened the garage door, they were shocked to see Dr. Ramsey bolting out of the garage, sprinting towards the trees. Emily's brothers gave chase, running all the way to Cherokee Park, but Dr. Ramsey was too quick, disappearing into the woods. The police were once again called, but without a clear lead, they had nothing to act on, just a description of a man who had given a false name. Then, 2 weeks later, something happened that would forever change the family. The family woke one morning to a horrifying discovery. Emily's beloved German Shepherd Rex had been hung from the side porch. Rex had been born on the same day as Emily, and his death devastated the entire family. The police dismissed it as an accident, but Emily's family knew the truth. Dr. Ramsey had escalated his cruelty to an unthinkable level. Despite the grief, the phone calls continued. Dr. Ramsey would often speak about things only someone who had been watching the family could know. He knew who was home at any given moment, where each family member was, and even details about the house itself, like how to open the kitchen window with a knife or how to unlock the French doors. One night, the terror reached its peak. Emily and her family were sitting in the living room, playing cards when they heard a loud knock at the French doors. Emily's sister, Sarah, peeked out of the window and saw Dr. Ramsey standing outside, grinning like a madman. He told her he had a pizza delivery for the house and asked her to open the door. Sarah wasn't fooled. She yelled for the police, and Dr. Ramsey retreated into the darkness. Despite their best efforts to protect themselves, the fear of Dr. Ramsey lingered. The family began sleeping with knives by their beds just in case. A few days later, while Emily was on the playground at school, she saw a familiar sight. Dr. Ramsey's blue Ford Galaxy slowly cruising by. He waved and called her name. Emily, heart-pounding, ran to her teacher and informed her of what was happening. The teacher immediately took her inside and called Emily's mother, who was already on alert. That afternoon, Emily's mother received a strange call from the school office, asking her to confirm that Tom had called to pick up Emily. Emily's father had not made that call. Late one night, as Emily went downstairs for a drink, she found her father sitting alone at the kitchen table. A gun lay on the surface. Tom had reached his breaking point. He was done waiting for the police to take action. He was done with the fear, the constant threats, and the invasion of his family's privacy. As Emily sat with him in the dark, she understood the weight of his resolve. Then, as suddenly as it began, it all stopped. The phone calls, the sightings of Dr. Ramsey, the endless threats, all of it ceased. The family never knew what happened to him. Did he meet with an accident? Was he arrested? Or did he simply vanish into the shadows? For Emily, the terror of those 18 months didn't vanish with Dr. Ramsey. The nightmares continued, with him appearing at her bedside, watching her sleep. But eventually, she found peace, as the days grew longer and the memories faded. In the years that followed, Emily learned the full extent of Dr. Ramsey's twisted intentions. He had told her parents in his calls that he intended to hurt her and her sister in the most unimaginable ways. His disappearance remains a mystery to this day. But for Emily and her family, they never knew whether Dr. Ramsey's silence was the end of the nightmare or merely a pause before the storm began again. Emily still wonders, late at night, if the monster is out there, waiting. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing and liking the channel. If you know of any eerie stories you'd like exposed, please comment below.